Piazza Navona. And right now, there is a place called the Museum of Rome. I wanted you to see what it used to be and what it looked like during the fascist era, because it actually was the fascist party headquarters for a time. And this somewhat bizarre photograph is when they put on the front of the building Mussolini's face. I wanted to talk about what you've just seen, why it matters. You know, I try to do a little teeny tiny history lesson because you're all smarties. And who doesn't like to learn about this? And I honestly think that, you know, I went to public schools and they were wonderful. But I don't think there's a lot of education about the Holocaust, and certainly not the Holocaust in Italy. And so I wanted to start at you saw it, on Piazza Navona, which is, where's my pictures? I took these on my research trip. It's one of the largest piazzas, which is basically just a meeting place in Rome. And at the corner of it is something called Palazzo Braschi. And Palazzo Braschi matters because it was the headquarters of the fascist party in Rome, of the local fascist party. The National Fascist Party was headquartered in Piazza Venezia, another place, another palazzo. Both are in the book, and you'll be able to understand them. But I wanted to take you inside it, which is real cool, and then explain why it matters. So here we are, Piazza, like the Michael Kors sign, very, whatever. Here is Palazzo Braschi, and it actually is a home that was owned by a very aristocratic family. And when the fascists came in, they took it over and said, thank you very much, and we will make it our fascist headquarters. This is what it looks like today. And I'll show you inside, and then I'll show you something incredible. Here's the beautiful staircase. And you'll see when you read the book, this is all in it. This is a famous staircase. This is like when you walk through, I'm bad at this. This is what the ceilings look like. I mean, what? It's like stunning. And this is an inner courtyard, which I described it in the book, but it figures very importantly in the book because something really cool happens on the balcony of Palazzo Braschi, which is fascist headquarters in Rome of the local party. But I thought I'd just take a minute to talk a little bit about Mussolini, because to me the question when I started to do this was, why did people follow Mussolini? And I will show you one thing, which is, first off, here's a picture of him. They say his looks were they thought he was hot. I don't know. He's no Bradley Cooper. But he basically took a lot of pictures of himself, like doing things naked, naked to the waist. So, but he did have I'm joking around a lot, but he had a dramatic face. And he had big, big eyes, and that jutting chin, which he's kind of famous for, was kind of belligerent. And he basically was theatrical when he spoke. Like, he would never bore you. He was into it. He was into the moment. And what happened when fascism came along is that fascism, and by the way, a lot of people think that he copied Hitler. In fact, it was the other way around. Mussolini was the first fascist. They were in it like 1919. He was already in power in 1922. And so you have to say to yourself, why? And the thing you hear, which is a cliche, and it's actually not true, is that Mussolini made the trains run on time. That's why everybody loved him. That is not really why everybody loved him. I've done a lot of research. I work with a historian. I read everything I could on the subject. And I think what everybody loved him, and I put this in the book because you'll see how it plays into the character, because that's really all important. I'm not writing a history book. I'm writing fiction set in a historical context. But why people love Mussolini is that Italy had been kind of balkanized and all scattered in different regions after the unification of Italy. It didn't really have a national identity. It's just like if you said, well, I'm from Pennsylvania, but you didn't really identify as American. Somebody came along, and that was Mussolini. He realized that there was a lot of disparate identity, that there was not really a national identity, and that people really wanted to belong to something. They wanted to identify with something. And he said to them, you know who you are? You're Roman. He started what was known as Romanità, which was the idolizing of things Roman, and Italianità, which was you're Italian, you're Roman. That is who you are. And he instantly understood that. That's why it's cool to write historical. The fire making its very atmospheric noises. Thank you, Francesca. He understood that history had a power. And so what he did, which was really significant, much more significant than making trains run on time, is he completely redesigned the traffic pattern in Rome. And not only that, he excavated the ruins. So that what he did was make it so you could see the ruins more easily and that you would even drive by the ruins. Every day, everywhere you went, you would see the ruins. Why did that matter? Because Mussolini said, this is who you are. You are the glory of Rome. We talked in the last video about how there's the catacombs there because Rome is the seat of Christendom. And we talked in the video before that about how Rome is also, amazingly, the site of the longest continuously existing Jewish community in Western civilization. Rome was the glory of the empire. Rome was conquered France, conquered Germany. They were everywhere. And what Mussolini did was he reminded them of that. He said, you are the greatness that was Rome. We are Roman. I put it in the book, actually, because this is sort of, I read all his speeches, and because Marco starts to go to the speeches, and Marco becomes indoctrinated, and Marco falls for it basically because he needs to feel he kind of has a self-esteem problem a little, and Mussolini is so magnetic. And Mussolini says, Rome is our point of departure and reference. It is our symbol, our myth. We dream of Roman Italy, wise, strong, disciplined, and imperial. Our pride and our courage is Roman. You people are special merely because you're Roman. And that really appeals to, it's great to have pride in who you are. And when I was writing this book, and I thought a lot about that, because I thought about, why did Mussolini succeed? And also a little bit, what is identity? You can manipulate people if you tell them this is who you are, because to a certain extent, we identify with things. I identify with being an Italian American. I identify people, and if you look around and you think about it, and as we always have that sort of, if you want to write, I'd love to see what you identify as and why. Because people can identify as anything. You can identify as a Taylor Swift fan. You can identify as an Eagles fan. You can be a Steelers fan. You can be, a tennis fan. Fandom is an aspect of identity. That's why it's interesting when you see, for example, Taylor Swift fans call themselves Swifties. I am this. We are Penn State. Who are we? And Mussolini came along and said, you're great. You're so freaking great. That's not Italian. And that's why Marco falls for him and why Marco becomes a fascist. And the Jews in the book become fascists. Lots of people become fascists. And Mussolini consolidates power under this very theatrical. By the way, he had the ego like you wouldn't believe. I just showed you the facade of Palazzo Braschi, and I also showed this in the video because I still can't get over that this is Palazzo Braschi. It's a whole big building. That's Mussolini's face. It was during, I think it was the 1934 election. CCC means yes. He put himself on the side of the building. He was on coins. He was on banners. He was on all the money. He was on flags. There were monuments to him everywhere. He chose the title Duce because it came from dux, Latin for leader. So he was always hearkening back to Rome and always reminding you how very, very great you were. And Marco comes under his thrall. So that's sort of the 101 on fascism and why it succeeded. I think you'll see in the book how it plays into Marco and his adolescence and his becoming a young man and all the hard, dramatic choices he has to make as a result of his choices. At one point, he has to say to himself, am I my uniform? Am I more than my uniform? Who am I? Mussolini has told me who I am, but I have to decide who I am. And you see what he decides.